introductions. My name is Simon Pilbeam. I'm going to be corralling this little presentation webinar thing to introduce you to two characters who you can see on screen at the moment, but we'll do that in just a few moments. I'm presuming that most of you probably know things about Cinegy, otherwise you wouldn't be here in the first place. However, for those of you who don't know everything or need a little reminder, I have also got, if I can get my mouse to be on the right screen, there we go, a little slide that helps me very quickly explain what Cinegy do. So Cinegy fundamentally started off life with archive MAM and storage controlling software, if you like, not storage itself, but the software that goes on top of that. And everything we built from there on sort of fed in and out of that. We've moved away from that whole model now quite dramatically, but we still do that, and we still are in those areas. So at the heart of everything is archive. However, because we're software, the wonderful thing is we can literally pull any of these applications out of that whole initial idea and run them independently as well. So with the exception of desktop and workspace, which are the GUIs that work into the archive, everything else is a separate work, standalone or archive related application. And what we tended to do within Cinegy were call things sensible names. So capture is pretty sensible. That captures your live streams coming in. So any sort of live streams, whether that be SDI with the help of an input-output board or IP sources, those go all in through capture. Convert was there to convert any file-based inputs and outputs that we needed from archive or into any system we wanted to. The colored squares are quite important. The blue ones are to do with Cinegy Playout. So Cinegy Air, Cinegy Studio, and Cinegy Title. We are changing the name, by the way, if you've not heard that already, from Titler to Title. So that's quite an old little icon there, but it will change to Title very, very shortly indeed. The yellow ones are to do with IP, and in there we've got encode, we've got multi-viewers, we've got routers, etc. And all of those things could work into the archive, but they don't have to. They can work standalone, and lots of people are using them in standalone mode. There's then a couple of peripherals, Cinegy Player, which is our standalone playing VLC type device, to use a competitor's name. It's just for viewing files and streams and elements. And then Daniel 2, our very own codec, which anybody who's working in graphics needs to take a look at, because it's a really nice, compact, fast working codec for UHD particularly. Anyway, that's my introduction to what Cinegy are all about. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to introduce now the two people who you can see in front of you. So we have Tab Butler and Laura Thommen, both of whom have known and worked with or worked alongside Cinegy for quite some time. Tab probably a little longer. I think Laura has known of us for a long time and known us indeed, but Tab's actually been working with us. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves very quickly, and then we'll start, if you don't mind, out of sequence really with Tab, and he can tell us a couple of things. But let's start with Laura first to do a very quick introduction of herself, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Thommen, based in Los Angeles. Been in the business for over 40 years. My roots are Apple, Avid, Adobe, doing DDN storage. So doing deals in the M&E space, for that length of time globally, domestic and globally. So very familiar with both hardware and software, and I've been in the business working with HPA, SMPTE. I've got a couple degrees based out of SoCal, and grateful to be working with Cinegy. It's a great organization.
Thank you. Tab.
So I'm Tab Butler. I have been in the broadcast business for many years from NBC. About 18 years there. I was in manufacturing, supporting companies like Grass Valley, EMC, C-Change International. C-Change International was where I first ran across Cinegy back in 2002, 2003, and working with them when they had one of the first software HD codecs for client server architectures. And so that was very exciting and a lot of fun to do with them, and got them into the CBS labs, and we did a lot of testing there. Very successful. After that, you may know me from my years at MLB Network and building out Diamond and the workflows and systems there. Dan Trask, who may be on the phone today, I handed the reins over to him, along with 208 channels of Cinegy Capture. So yes, we had a lot of experience and exposure with Cinegy Capture at MLB Network, as well as a lot of the other tools that I was able to use as we built out features and functionalities within Diamond. Having retired in 2020 and starting to do some consulting, I really was looking at the marketplace and saying, hey, where could I help? Where could I make a difference? How could I help my friends and my associates across the sports, entertainment, and news environments in broadcasting? And thought, hey, I've had good success with Cinegy, and started to work closely with them really since January of 2021. Really trying to see what can we do and how can we bring this to market in the United States. So that's my intro.
That leads us perfectly back onto my first question, really. And that's brilliant. So with your background and knowledge of working with us at Cinegy over the early years and much more recently than that, what can you tell us about the benefits that you feel our solutions can offer to the US market particularly?
Well, one of the things that I really found intriguing about Cinegy was being able to solve specific workflow issues that came up and were, limitations through things like proprietary codecs and challenges with interoperability between different systems, and how can I find that glue product that could basically fill that gap and solve my workflow issues. And one of the things that we really found when I was building out Diamond was that there were a lot of pieces that I could go to Cinegy for, such as developing a XDCAM HD50 codec with an alpha channel that we could plug in to VizRT and work seamlessly with Adobe Premiere. And elements like that, player functionalities using the Cinegy player and plugging that in within workflows. And, subsequently, what I've been working with in a lot of the workflows is identifying an existing infrastructures where, somebody's left the market, Avid or something with a record system, and being able to identify, hey, the Cinegy Capture can fit in here, and you don't have to change your infrastructure. You don't have to rebuild, your integration into a media asset management system. You can tie in and basically plug in a lot of these pieces to speed your processes and ultimately save money too. The costs associated with it, it's software products, and it doesn't. It runs on general purpose compute. Everything from super micros to Dells to HP, whatever shop you're looking at, we're able to sit on that hardware. Lenovo, we've got customers that are Lenovo houses. And so, it gives us that flexibility and that capability to really meet the needs of the customers.
Perfect. And so moving forward a little bit, are you seeing much more a move towards cloud and a move towards hybrid cloud, maybe on more on-prem stuff, more than
Well,
on-prem stuff?
Well, what my roots is basically all on-prem, and in the last with the instant migration to remote operations from early 2020, I mean, the world changed overnight. And so if you've got hybrid cloud capabilities, you've got a functional workflow that meets companies' needs today. That particular workflow was not necessarily on their drawing boards for 2021 and 2022, back in 2018. But it certainly was once you got to the pandemic. And as a result, you see a tremendous amount of opportunity to meet the needs of the customers by having tool sets that work in the cloud. And it's something that at IBC, Laura and I were there at IBC. We were in the Cinegy booth at NAB as well. And cloud was in everybody's workflow. And it doesn't matter where you are. It may be 70%, maybe 30%, but it exists in everybody's workflow. And having the tools are really critical. Simon, at IBC, we got some pretty interesting awards as well for cloud-based workflow and playout. I know, Laura, you can go into that since that's been a big focus for you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah, so if you look at the cloud, Simon, to add on to what Tav's saying,
Yep.
actually at NAB, we also received a cloud award.
Yeah.
And so there were a couple of early adopters that Cinegy started working with HCL Technology, which is one of the largest IT solution providers globally, and another systems integrator or solution provider out of SoCal, Trackit. And both of these were instrumental in getting Cinegy both into the Microsoft booth as well as the AWS booth at NAB. And we all know being part of the big boys is part of what it's about. The cool thing is Cinegy had been selling to solutions into AWS workflows for many years. And in this particular instance I'm about to describe, Tab and I are working with a client who is 100% going AWS. We quoted on a subscription model, and ironically, they want to go on-prem to get started. And it goes back to the workflow, but it goes back more importantly to the client. They want to know what the costs are going to be, but they need to still address that archive, that on-prem, and usually there's a requirement to have on-prem as well as cloud. So you don't put all your eggs in that single basket, and Cinegy does that brilliantly. So Cinegy's cloud initiative is to meet the needs of its clients, which is, I think, working with Tab as many years as I have and seeing what his business requirements have been, and just our personal relationship going back 20 plus years with Virage and so on, and Sea Change, you start to see what the market needs. And the market's all about the workflow. And Cinegy, and as you showed, the tools for software-defined television, the client doesn't want to buy a single solution. And for example, Tab's world, he built out Diamond. That's a MAM. Cinegy offers a MAM. But Cinegy goes, oh, we have these other pieces as well. You can put those in with your MAM, and it coexists very nicely. It's complementary. And clients don't want to be dictated to. They don't want to buy a solution, have one throat to choke, and feel it's going to be all over if something doesn't work. And I think that's what I really appreciate about Cinegy. Jan's forward-thinking abilities to come out with 8K before the world's even quite ready for it. They think they are. Jan's ability to make it so you buy on-prem today, you can flip it to a subscription license tomorrow. Those things are just so powerful to our market. And that's what I'm grateful. The whole model of the cloud, working with the partners, what Tab and I both have seen since 2020, however, is that not only was remote editing in, we found a whole bunch of new partners and people that we went, who was to think? Because workflow is still workflow, but how it gets deployed can be different, especially depending on what region you might be from. The cool thing is Cinegy doesn't care. because Cinegy's solution works regardless. And to me, as a salesperson and a business person looking to drive relationships with these cloud providers, be a part of their bigger solution, that's a very powerful story to tell.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I think one thing I'd like to, yeah,
sorry,
Simon,
Tab,
excuse me, one thing I'd like to add is that when we are dealing with cloud, I'm working with a cloud provider that we've got instances in London, we've got instances in the US, all tied together, working as a single system, you know, for testing, workflows, development, all sorts of things within a customer's needs. And so all of a sudden, it means that your sandbox, your testing environment can be intercontinental. And, you know, as you're looking at events like the World Cup coming up, and the way that Fox Sports is going at building out their infrastructures, you know, the bottom line is that the world is becoming a very, very small, single big cloud of production. And, you know, the tools need to be able to be close to the edge, need to be close to where they are. And because of that, the architectures that Cinegy has been deployed with and been architected with, you've got that capability, the SRT stream capabilities, the multi-viewers, the test and measurement tools that you need to be able to monitor those kinds of infrastructures, as well as being ahead of the curve when you're dealing with things like Docker swarms, Kubernetes, and being able to deploy infrastructures in containers that can scale up channels, scale up multi-viewer monitoring, and on an on-demand subscription basis becomes very, very dynamic and very powerful to your production organization.
And Simon, I'm going to also add on to Tab. So I'd be remiss to not mention Daniela's efforts too in driving Tab and me to help her expand the US market, which is part of this call. And some of the work that Cinegy did early on in getting some early adopters into the United States is huge, because America can buy from whom they want, and they chose Cinegy because the tools did basically what no one else could offer. And there's a couple instances that we won't go into client names on the call, but what's really important is that whole multi-layering that Cinegy provides. You couldn't get there from here. The fact that it's out of the box, the fact that they can tweak it with PS, right, Tab? We work with the PS team, and PS to me has always been very painful words to our customers because it spells of hundreds of thousands of extra dollars of spend. And in this case, it's just a little one line here or there, and it's deployed in a matter of a few days. And the clients that we worked with and the partners, they see that and they understand that, and it doesn't reflect itself in a higher price. And Tab talked early on, it's, you know, it's COTS hardware, and what's more important, it's not COTS software, but to be fair, in a way it is, it just works. And it's for mere mortals. And it isn't a lengthy manual to deploy. It's up and running. And Tab and I just completed a project in the States. And ironically, it's not just the broadcasters we're working with. We're working state and local government. We're working academia. We're working genomics. We're working oil and gas. And so anybody that needs to tell their own story, they have their own, you know, broadcast tools internally, or even their own archive. Cinegy seems to have a good fit. And the receptivity of the clients, and to Tab's point, this whole international, across the pond is huge, because it doesn't make a difference where you are anymore to deploy. And Cinegy it lends itself very nicely to that.
Lovely. Thank you. You just circumvented about 5 of my questions in one easy phrase, so that's going to slow things up a little, but it's fine. We would have got those answers anyway, one way out of it, but you offered them up naturally, so that's wonderful. One of the things I suppose I forgot to say right at the very beginning, so I'm hitting myself over the head now, was that all those software offerings, applications, if you like, of course, are software, so they all run pretty naturally in the cloud. Obviously, there's restrictions on some things. You know, getting SDI into the cloud is quite an issue. But other than that, they're designed already to work in the cloud, to be licensed in the cloud as well. So you can either have on-prem licensing or cloud-based licensing that requires you to access the internet, or multiples of those. You can shift it around, so everything becomes perfectly doable within the cloud. So that's worth pointing out, I suppose, and I forgot to do that at the beginning. I'm just quickly scanning what questions I've got left now that you've wonderfully taken me over. I was going to ask you what you think the major challenges would be for Cinegy breaking even more into the US. I won't say breaking into the US because we already have. It's like where does our future business come from in the US in media and entertainment?
I think we grow with our clients, and we need to build out our channels. So for all of those you listening, I think I need to do a better job of getting closer to the people locally. Locally to me is the globe, so it doesn't make a difference. And same thing goes for Tab. But a lot of the business we're doing has a global footprint. So if you're already working with a client in one of your locations, and there's a chance they have an office located elsewhere, or a facility, is there a way we can work together on that? And that's very important. And certainly bring that back to us or to Daniela or to Simon, if you think there's a way. But as I stated earlier on, Cinegy is a global company. Its roots in Germany, its roots in London, or excuse me, I should say UK. It's very, very powerful because it's the tools that they've built. They have such a strong background, 20 years, profitable. The retention is beyond what I could ever expect or hope to see. The knowledge of the PS organization, the Lewis, the Yaroslavs, their awareness of the tools and how it deploys in a client workflow is huge. And because they've worked with some of the biggest broadcasters, they've worked in so many different workflows, the post workflows. And I think that gives the client confidence that the product is going to work. Having Tab and I local on the ground just takes the time difference away. So hopefully we live up to Cinegy standards, and we're good corporate citizens also.
So geographically, the fact that you're spread across the US, so Tab's based in New York fundamentally, just outside New York, but we call it New York. And Laura's based in Los Angeles. So you've sort of got the two main hubs of media and entertainment in the US covered, and obviously can spring out from there if you need to. So that's also helpful. And if Tab wants to send his dogs instead, that's always good too.
They'll keep track of all of the issues.
Cool.
Most definitely. I think one of the other things that's really, really important as I look at what Cinegy is offering, and what I've found is very, I'll be honest, I've spent a lot of my focus with Cinegy in the areas of media asset management, capture, the convert, i.e. transcoding and workflow, automating delivery of various different content specs, utilizing, the capture workflows tied into convert and really trying to automate that area. But there's a whole nother side that, especially in cloud, is the playout side and the broadcast playout and the newsroom systems as well. Very, very advanced in that area and have a tremendous amount of market presence in Europe, and very little here in the United States comparatively as to what's deployed there. So there's a whole untapped area of Cinegy that is very, very exciting and tuned and in use extensively. I mean, 22 channels of Cinegy Playout is providing broadcast television in the United States from various providers. So it's really, it's something to bark about, as my dogs would say.
I think what's really important, Simon, when you asked the growth, I believe the US is a huge opportunity for Cinegy. And pretty much, you know, people don't buy what they don't know, and you're not seeing, you're not part of it. And I think just creating the presence, the awareness, the events that we're able to attend because we are physically on the ground. There's a major a client of Cinegy's been a client for years, turns out lives literally down the block. It changes things when people have questions and they think that you're right there. People like to buy from people and know who they're working with on a daily basis. And that's Tab's and my job. And once again, Tab and I worked together for 20 years. We are a team. We're here to help. Anything we can do to roll our sleeves up, we're happy to help. But it's a great group overall, and I think it can only get stronger. What I did learn from one of our clients most recently is they actually looked at alternatives. And because the perception was Cinegy was a European-based company. And when it was all said and done, Cinegy was the only company that did the basic tools that the client required and could deliver and not have any downtime. And we all know our markets, the 5 nines, you know, low latency, high availability, and Cinegy hit all those buttons. Cinegy's awareness of storage manufacturers, Cinegy's awareness of the products that need to go in when you craft a solution and what's the recommended config. And we're working with a lot of these different players now closer than we did before, only because they're states-based, and so are Tab and I. So I think you start to look at some of that, it starts to get a little bit of a snowball effect and grow.
Yeah, and you're also focused on, security, Windows security. That this system is deployed generally on Windows and has been for many years. So Active Directory, group policies, all of the security standards that you would expect from an enterprise class product. But at the same point, a big initiative for the last 5 years has been porting Cinegy products and tools to Linux, to containers, to Kubernetes, Docker, and really embracing the capabilities of new and emerging capabilities and platforms for the deployment of applications and the scalability.
Yep. No, absolutely. I don't want to get people's hopes up too fast and too quickly, but you're absolutely right. We are developing those elements at the moment here in the UK as well. So that's all good stuff. What about the options for buying Cinegy? How do you see that working in the US? Is that a good thing? All the different options we've got. Is there anything we're missing there, do you think? Or would you like to have a go at explaining those options?
I'll go there. Right now, I would say we're right on track. I think, once again, Daniela has been pretty forward thinking in crafting the price list for our partners. What I really appreciate is when we do have to come back to her for something unique, it's pretty much put in instantly, but it's pretty much all there right now.
Okay, so you're happy with the ability to rent out our software?
Yeah, and I think what we owe our clients and what we owe our customers and our partners, probably from Tab's and my perspective, do a little bit of better job even, is helping them understand what that price list is all about. Because the price list has so many combinations and permutations, which is brilliant. But as a couple clients have said to us is, gosh, which one do I need? Which partners? And that has to do, I think, with education. I think it also has to do, and Cinegy offers all this, right? But we all go, we're too busy, and it slows everyone down when it comes to purchasing or putting a quote together when you're not comfortable with the price list, because more has come out. And I also think because of COVID and all the craziness we all experienced for the last few years, there was less togetherness, which means when you're together, you go, oh, right, remember that page 3, it has this and that, oh, that's right. So you find yourself more in a catch-up mode when you're doing things all remote. So the more, and to your point when you asked earlier on, I think the more events we're in front of again, just like we were, I don't think we need to do as many as we used to do, that's me. But if you look at the major shows that we participate in and whatnot, gosh, engaging with our partners, Simon, sharing how things are being done, the workflow as we see it. In fact, there's that one slide you just showed us, which was the software-defined television. How about that website, that one web page that we can go to where you get to see all the Cinegy tools and you can actually go and review them. That is so powerful. I don't know that many companies that offer that transparency upfront without even getting engaged with, give me your name, your partner, your email address, etc. There is this, the transparency that Cinegy provides is huge.
Yeah, the other thing that I would look at that's pretty important along this line is pricing. As you look at what are the specific needs, you know, in the sports arena, you know, you have companies that are supporting groups like the US Open tennis that needs to ramp up, you know, the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks of the event, they're going to need to cover 20 tennis courts, and they're going to have to get software or hardware that can scale to 40, 60, 80 records, but they only need it for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month. And so having the availability of doing subscription pricing on a monthly or multi-month or annual basis becomes something that not only is very important. You know, Simon, you had mentioned the word rental. Well, it's not rental, it's a 1 month subscription, but effectively it's a rental. It's the same way that, you know, back in the mid 80s, you had Quantel doing that type of stuff with their paint boxes for, you know, World Series and you know, Super Bowls and things like that, licensing out on a subscription basis their licenses. So once again, everything old is new again. It's the same model. But it works, and it meets the needs of the sports marketplace very elegantly, and it helps the partners that are supporting the big networks or the broadcasters themselves. It gives them another tool in their box that affords them an opportunity to present, hey, here's a low-cost way to burst up and meet your needs and then burst down without carrying, you know, anything other than an operational cost, which is show cost related.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
the rental business started rearing its head big time also during COVID, right? Because people had to ramp up and so on. And rental business in LA was always very powerful. And I think, so when you ask opportunities, Simon, revisiting what's old is new again. And I think that was really a good way to put that because there's so much truth. We're not inventing something new. We're going to tried and true methods.
Right.
Yeah. And it's probably worth pointing out that one of the ways Cinegy has worked historically is that we work through partners of various types, various sizes, various fits, and they're the people who we train up, so they're able to offer that first line assistance. If you don't get the best assistance from them, you can come back to us as a company, certainly, and that's where I fit into some of this. Is I'm part of the professional services team here in the UK. Who do see all of these projects coming through, and we are pretty much involved in all of them to a greater or lesser extent, and we offer that as a service. It's paid for, but it's reasonably paid for. You can buy us in blocks. You know, if you just want somebody to spend 4 hours helping you configure something, then we can do that. You know, that's the sort of level we've pinned it down to. So it's almost that we're renting ourselves out as well as our application.
Well, and you also offer standard support that the world's used to. Some regions refer to it as the warranty, right? But the support in terms of the annual support, do you want more? Do you need less? It's all right there. And that's very, very powerful.
Yeah. Okay, how are we doing? We're sort of coming closer to the end of this little thing. I don't know whether the two of you have wrap-up speeches you'd like to give, or do you just want to give a final?
Did you have any questions,
to say things that you were waiting for? I've got a couple, but we've covered most of them now, really. I mean, scalability, things like that. I had questions about. There's no questions coming in from the chat live. I had a couple of questions in advance, but there's nothing else in there at the moment.
I'll be happy to start closing just by saying appreciate the opportunity. to talk to everyone, share with you my vision, certainly working with Cinegy. Love to hear more. Don't be a stranger. I think, Simon, you're going to post our email addresses. You know how to reach Cinegy. But we're just looking forward to growing the company and doing anything we can do to help.
Well, hopefully you're seeing that now, are you? And not
We
my
are.
cats.
We are.
Yeah,
Nope,
it's
no
really
cats this time.
Tab at Cinegy, Laura at Cinegy.
Yeah, and no dogs barking right now.
Yeah.
So you know,
There is one
I'd
more.
like to.
Sorry, Tab, you go ahead
Got one
first.
more slide.
No,
Okay,
another
yeah.
slide. But I've got another thing I
Okay,
want to show.
because one of the things that I think is really important is that there are a lot of tools out on the web supporting Cinegy. So you've got Cinegy.com. You also have open.cinegy.com, which is very, very important as a resource for information for both the partners as well. That's the open.cinegy.com. And I mean, it is a wealth of information from user manuals to APIs to links for GitHub and things of that nature. I mean, it's a real wealth of information, and you know, once you're you know, an end user of Cinegy, then there's a whole nother layer of information, resources, ticketing, you know, follow the sun type of support. So you know, we've been very impressed with how that all works from being on the inside as well as being a customer. Was very pleased with that all along. So some great people, some great support resources that are there. So again, thank you for all joining today. And I'm really excited to be a part of this team and working with Laura. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, Simon and the professional services team, Jan and Daniela, it's a great organization, and it's fun to work with them. So that's my wrap-up speech, as it were. And hopefully, not to pitch too hard on this, hopefully the folks that are on the chat can come to the SVG event, the SVG Summit, and you know, see Laura and I there, as well as some of the other you know, folks that will be attending. And thank you very much for attending today. Please do reach out to me. Please do reach out to Laura. We're here. We're resources, and we're trying to knock on everybody's door, but we don't hit everybody's door unless we know that there's somebody home. So,
And I'll be at the HBA gala this Thursday evening. So if anybody happens to be at the Hollywood event, look forward to meeting you there. And Simon, I thank you for hosting this.
Well, sadly, I shan't be able to make that event, but I'm sure people on the other side of the pond will.
You never know.
Thank you both, and I'd like to personally welcome the pair of you as well to the Cinegy fold. I mean, I know what that's like. I came from a large corporation known as the BBC 10 years ago now, and I've enjoyed every moment of my life at Cinegy. So I sincerely back up what Tab said, certainly, and I'm sure you'll find it most enjoyable, the same as we did. Just don't work too hard, because the harder you work, the more work I have to do then to look after those people. But thank you, everybody, for listening. If you have questions, take a picture of that screen quickly before I take it away, and email any of us, or all of us even, if you wish. It really doesn't matter. One of us will pick it up, I'm sure. And I hope you found that informative. I hope it was a nice introduction to our two new employees and what their goals are in life within the Cinegy company itself. And to Andrew, who was supposed to be chairmaning this, I hope he gets much better soon. He is on the call somewhere, but I won't get him to talk at the moment.
Yeah, thank you very much for the good wishes. I shall be resuming an active role in webinars and so on. But clearly it's not that important. If you can do it as well as this, what's everybody need me for?
Not true.
No,
We
it's
miss
the
you.
polish. It's the polish we need.
The
Yeah,
polish.
so I've learned a lot, and it's been good even just sitting in the back seat here. And yeah, and for anybody else who's out there, who anybody in the crowd who might know me, you know, I'm on that list as well. Even if I'm not visible, you know how to get a hold of me if you've got any questions. And also, I see everything goes to sales. So if you don't know, if you haven't got a direct mail for me, just send it to sales and I'll pick it up.